CBS News Bay Area Afternoon Edition with Ann Mekovic.
Thanks for joining us this Tuesday. A group in the East Bay asking county officials to have their back. Immigration rights advocates are protesting ICE raids, and they want their leaders to take a stand.
No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here.
This was in Contra Costa County this morning. The group rallying ahead of a Board of Supervisors meeting in Martinez. Organizers say they are against any kind of collaboration between the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office and ICE, which they say leaves many undocumented immigrants feeling unsafe. They want the county to adopt a non-cooperation ordinance to prevent the Sheriff's Office from sharing any information that could help expedite mass deportations.
What we've learned is that if we leave law enforcement unchecked, law enforcement will betray our community and law enforcement will cooperate with ICE.
Well, we spoke with Sheriff David Livingston last month at an annual forum where the office discloses its interactions with ICE. He said the Sheriff's Office does not share info with ICE, except in limited circumstances involving violent felons. He explained how ICE can send requests to his office based on information that's accessible in a database.
We don't interact with federal agents. When we book an individual into our jail, their fingerprints automatically go to ICE, Department of Homeland Security, FBI, everybody. ICE obviously knows that they want to interview this particular person, and so they send us a request for notification.
Well, the Sheriff's Office said last year it received 578 requests from ICE and responded to less than 100. It's expected to present new numbers from this year to the Board of Supervisors today. We reached out to the Sheriff's Office to respond to today's rally and have not heard back. The White House press secretary calling Governor Gavin Newsom out in today's press briefing.
Bring it on, Gavin. This administration is well within its legal right to do this, and we want to ensure that our colleges and our universities are respecting the First Amendment rights and the religious liberties of students on their campuses.
So she is referring to UCLA. The Trump administration wants a $1 billion settlement from the university as part of its crackdown on anti-Semitism on college campuses. UCLA's president said in a statement on Friday that the school is reviewing the Department of Justice document. Governor Newsom has called the settlement extortion. The legal battle, meantime, over President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles continues today in a courtroom in San Francisco. The administration deployed thousands of troops in June to help control protests over immigration raids, despite Governor Newsom's objections. The state says that move broke federal law by using the military for civilian policing. This all comes as President Trump plans to take over control of Washington, D.C.'s streets. That is kicking into high gear today with the Department of Justice meeting with city leaders and the D.C. National Guard mobilizing. You can see the Guard troops here arriving in the district this morning. Torian Small has the latest on the takeover and the president's upcoming meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Attorney General Pam Bondi met with Washington, D.C.'s mayor as President Trump has now placed the district's police force under federal control.
Last night, approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests.
D.C.'s police chief says her offices will work alongside federal partners and the National Guard to secure the district.
We know that we have to get illegal guns off of our street, and if we have this influx or enhanced presence, it's going to make our city even better.
Police data shows violent crime in D.C. has declined over the past year, while Trump says the nation's capital doesn't look good to other world leaders.
This is an emergency. This is a tragic emergency. And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin.
The president said he intends to use Friday's meeting with his Russian counterpart in Alaska to determine how serious Vladimir Putin is about a peace deal with Ukraine.
The president of the United States getting in the room with the president of Russia, sitting face to face rather than speaking over the telephone, will give this president the best indication of how to end this war and where this is headed.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is dubious. He shared a new intelligence report on X saying that Russia is redeploying troops and forces in ways that suggest preparations for new offensive operations.
Zelensky's office confirms to CBS News that President Zelensky will attend a virtual meeting with President Trump and European leaders on Wednesday. All right, closer to home, let's take a live look from our camera on top of Mount Diablo. The Bay Area Air Quality Management District has issued an air quality advisory today because of smoke coming in from the Gifford fire that's burning all the way down in San Luis Obispo County. That fire has now grown to 190 square miles. That is larger than the entire city of San Jose. And the terrain is so rough that CAL FIRE is having to fly firefighters in by helicopter. For the latest on our air quality, let's check in with First Alert meteorologist Jessica Birch. Hey.
Of course, it's now a concern for us here too, and we monitor that closely. But the other thing that's really good for us right now has to do with surface level winds pushing in from the Pacific, and that's actually allowing for some better conditions along the coast. We're going to talk more about that coming up in the full forecast. It's important to note that right now as we head into the afternoon hours. But let's head over to the coast real fast and also talk about some other things going on. We have that beach hazard statement that's still in effect, highlighted in the blue color, anywhere from Stinson Beach up into places like Bodega Bay. Rip currents, sneaker waves, they're definitely possible today. And then a small craft advisory just along the north shore or the north part of the coastline in the bay. Now that means that we could see some gustier winds into this afternoon, choppy waters. Just be very careful out there along the coast and along the bay as we head into this afternoon. Now, as for our daytime highs, our microclimates are all doing their own thing. We have 60s along the coast, 90s all the way over into Antioch. About a 30-degree temperature spread this afternoon as this area of low pressure continues to move in from the north. It'll cool all of us off just a little bit more by our forecast tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll experience a midweek cool down and then a big warm up heading into this weekend. I'll love to talk about it with you coming up in just a bit, but for now, back over to you.
Thanks, Jess. The sun was out for students heading back to school in the East Bay. We were there as they returned to the classroom in Walnut Creek. Here's a look at some of the students coming onto campus this morning at Buena Vista Elementary. They're posing for those back to school pics we're all seeing on social media these days. The district has about 3,600 students at 6 elementary schools and 1 intermediate school. Several other Bay Area school districts also heading back to school today, including Fremont, Dublin, Moraga, Benicia, and San Mateo Foster City. Well, it's not back to school, but back to the office that is driving the return of the Bay Area's casual carpool program starting today. Veronica Macias reports from Oakland, where strangers are hitching rides over the Bay Bridge.
We're along Lakeshore Avenue in Oakland, right under the 580 overpass, where people are going old school and carpooling again. This program is called Casual Carpool. Drivers will pull up, get ready for passengers to jump in, and then take the highway over into San Francisco to get to work.
We ended up finding that 536 people wanted it back, and that survey was just for a month. We know that more people are out there wanting this back.
Carpooling has been going on for a long time, but it stopped during the pandemic. So this group wants everyone to meet at this location between the hours of 5 to 10 a.m. There was a mix of reasons why people are returning to carpooling this fall. Many companies are telling their workers they have to return to the office. A big reason to join for many of them is losing the privilege to the HOV for the single EV drivers. It's more than likely California's Clean Air Vehicle program will not get extended because it needs the approval from Congress and the president's signature. So people are taking it back to carpooling. Here in Oakland, it's all about community.
It's a really wonderful way to show that I have faith in my community, that I believe that we can be resilient together and that we can help each other make ends meet.
So this morning you have drivers who are waiting for passengers who are trying to get to San Francisco, so they'll sit and wait for them to arrive, then take off together. This is the first location, but they're hoping to extend it to 20 by next fall.
Still ahead here at noon and streaming on CBS News Bay Area. New inflation report is out. What it says about what we're paying for just about everything. Well, the inflation rate remains steady in July, but economists are worried that that could change as we begin to see the impact of tariffs on imported goods. Gas prices this summer were down 30 cents per gallon compared to last year, but shortages in eggs and beef caused prices to increase for those items, and tariffs are having an impact on some things like furniture and tools. But economists believe that will change.
What we do know is a lot of businesses are eating those smaller increases that they saw in the first few months of tariffs. I think towards the end of the year, they're going to start passing along those increases to consumers.
Investors at the New York Stock Exchange are hopeful that this latest report, along with the weaker July jobs report, will lead the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates when it meets again in September. San Francisco-based AI company Perplexity is trying to buy Google's Chrome browser for $34 billion. Perplexity already has its own AI search engine. This offer comes after a court ruled that Google was a search monopoly last year. Back to our first alert weather, taking another live look outside from our Treasure Island camera. You can see Alcatraz there. Let's check back in with meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Well, it's still a little bit cooler and cloudy out there today, and then it's only getting cooler and cloudier as we head into our Wednesday forecast. Here's the reason why. What we're experiencing right now, we're kind of sandwiched between two areas of high pressure here in the Bay, but low pressure dipped down just enough from the Pacific Northwest to give us some relief from that heat, at least the extreme heat, I should say, because today there's over 27 million people that are gearing up for heat warnings and advisories issued by the National Weather Service all along the California areas up into the Pacific Northwest. But we're spared a little bit thanks to that system bringing in some cooler sea surface level winds and then surface level winds at the sea level. And then on top of that, we're also dealing with cloudier skies too, a little bit higher in that relative humidity. Altogether, these are allowing for cooler conditions for us today, and it's great news across the board. However, we are still dealing with some gusty winds this afternoon, anywhere up to around 20 to 30 mile per hour winds expected, pushing in from San Francisco along the Bay up into the Delta, close to Solano County. So gusty conditions with some lower relative humidity in those inland areas. They're not always the best case scenarios for fire weather conditions, but we keep a close eye on that. Now, as for daytime highs, we're gearing up for upper 80s and lower 90s this afternoon. From the Tri-Valley area off into the East Bay, the only place we're actually seeing 90s today is Antioch, which is such a contrast compared to our microclimates along the coast, influenced by that strong wind kicking up into this afternoon. It's still cool, it's still cloudy today, and we're going to continue to see that similar trend as we head into the next 7 days, at least into our inland forecast. With the clouds, we'll dip down temperatures just a little bit more as low pressure continues to move in from the north. That gets us into the low 80s tomorrow and moves away as high pressure starts building in. And then we're right back into warmer temperatures, upper 80s and lower 90s as we head into this weekend's forecast. Now we head over into the Bay. Our microclimates closer to San Francisco and Oakland aren't influenced as much when it comes to those temperatures by the system that's moving in, but we will notice more clouds. It'll be a lot cloudier tomorrow morning. We have a better chance of seeing coastal drizzle Wednesday morning, so keep that in mind as you're heading to work or school. I know it's back to school for many of us here in the Bay, and so we'll hold on tight to that forecast tomorrow, and then it starts to dry up a bit more into this weekend. Back to you.
Still ahead here on the afternoon edition. A San Francisco author says the creation of the world's first transgender district can be traced to the 1800s, and they have the pictures to prove it.
Finding people in old-timey photos made me feel a little bit more seen and present today.
In honor of Transgender History Month, there's a new book shining a light on over a century of history in San Francisco's transgender district. Lauren Toms talked with the author and activist, Reverend Dr. Megan Rohrer, about how the history is being preserved and why it's so important to share it today.
In the heart of San Francisco, Reverend Dr. Megan Rohrer unearthed the lineage of transgender history that's long thrived in San Francisco, and in it, a community that felt like home.
Finding people in old-timey photos made me feel a little bit more seen and present today, like I wasn't inventing a new thing for myself.
Today, Megan walks among the world's first legally recognized transgender district that spans parts of Market Street and the Tenderloin.
You see Market Street in the view from the Oddfellows Temple, which is right behind us. And so on these corners is a place where the 1906 earthquake destroyed a lot of stuff, including that vaudeville theater. It paved the way for trans people to kind of move into some of that housing.
The history that can be felt among these blocks echoes for centuries.
There is an old, very exciting history of trans community and joy that spans all the way back to the 1800s.
Megan is now bringing that history to light in a new book with the hope of making trans history accessible and offering a storied family tree to today's trans community.
My goal is that these photos will be so much more accessible for anyone who's looking for them, either at a public library where they check it out or at a local bookstore where they can keep it as their own, but they don't have to travel the country to different archives to find these really historic photos.
But this history doesn't only live in his book. It comes to life through the voices of trans elders, like Miss Billie Cooper, a veteran who lived through San Francisco's underground trans scene and never stopped being unapologetically herself.
But I found out about men from all over the world, all different flavors. Okay. And I was there, I had a smorgasbord. That was the first bar I went into. Back then I had a beard and a mustache and I used to wear a veil.
For many, these aren't just stories. They're a guiding light. In a time when trans rights are under fire, these stories mark a blueprint for hope and resistance.
There's not a day I leave my house where I don't wonder where I can go to the bathroom, if I can go to the bathroom, and if I will be safe in those spaces. And I wish it was a safer world. And so sharing stories amongst other trans people has been the way to try to stay as safe as possible.
He's hopeful the stories, the lessons in this book and in these streets won't just preserve history, but ensure the next generation won't have to search so far to find themselves.
Well, the book is available for pre-order now and celebrates the lives, struggles, and resilience of the trans community, past and present. That is going to do it for the afternoon edition. Remember, we are streaming 24/7 on the free CBS News app. Just go to Live and then choose Bay Area.